Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Jeff Klein's Speakers Sitting in Chairs, Chatting on Air. I've got Jonathan Peters with me. Hi, Jonathan.
How are you?
I'm good. Is it Dr. Jonathan or Jonathan PhD?
Either one. I think Jonathan works fine.
Well, we're hanging out once a week, talking to different speakers, my friends and colleagues about speaking, about what's going on, about what we're consuming, what we're doing, and we get around to some business stuff. But mostly it's to have a nice chat and get to know each other a little deeper and let other people in on tapping in our heads.
Yeah.
So you are in a hotel room in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah. I live in hotels. So,
You're like I say, I call you a road warrior.
yeah.
How did you get into the contract speaking, the seminar business that you're in?
Yeah, I was in, goes back a few years. I'm an old professor, and I said, well, this stinks. I want to actually get out on the road and start speaking and getting the skill set. And the contract trainer route is a good way to get the 10,000 hours under your belt, and just build it from there. So
That's the Malcolm Gladwell
haven't found
10,000 hours to be an expert, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
So and that's the advantage. You get out there, you get to in front of crowds and get to try some material out. That's what I did today. Tried some new stuff out, and if it works, it works. And I did it on someone else's dime.
There you go. Did it work?
Yeah, yeah. And then you find out how to where it needs to build and what needs to be different. And before it's one of my clients, I might as well do it on someone else's clients.
Well, and my journey would have been similar to yours if I'd ever heard of the seminar companies when I started speaking.
Yeah.
Instead I did 250 gigs in 3 years, all getting my all of them that I got myself booked here,
Yeah.
all of them within 100 miles of Dallas.
Yeah.
And that the once a week turned into twice a week, and I mean those I set goals. I want to speak once a week in 2007, and then I decided I wanted to speak twice a week in 2008, and did it again in 2009. All about business networking. So
Yeah.
chambers, networking groups, and Rotaries, and Elks, and Kiwanis, and you name it.
Yeah. True.
And I don't recommend the 6 times in 1 week that I did, and I don't recommend the 3 times in 1 day, going to a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner.
That's a lot of moving. A lot of moving.
Miles in between, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And the nice thing on the contract side of things is that for those folks who do like to travel, like I do, it's not always exciting. But when I was based in Vegas, got to go to Hawaii and stuff like that. Now that I'm based in Austin, I get to go to Little Rock, Arkansas. So,
well, you're still you've been to Australia for your seminar company, right?
yeah, I went to Australia tomorrow. But normally I'd be flying out tonight, but I'm going to Portland, Maine, and so I'll be hanging out there over the weekend, and then working on Monday, and so get to get out more. But it is finding that balance of what's local, and that's my next move, is to start building local business, similar to what you did.
Yeah, so you're going to be up in Stephen King country.
Yep, going to be driving right by his place. On Saturday, I'll be driving right by. I'll wave to him.
Just be careful. somebody hit him because he goes for walks. Somebody clipped him years ago walking down the highway. Don't be that guy.
No, I don't want to be that guy.
Are you a fan? Do you like Stephen King's books?
Yeah. Years ago, actually, this goes into the academia side. One of the folks I did some work with was the Stephen King scholar. That's all he did was study all Stephen King's novels. So kind of got into it that way.
Well, he did write, what's it called, Dance Macabre. He did write a textbook for writing.
Yeah.
I never read it, but I've read the the unabridged version of The Stand a couple of times. So that would classify me as a Stephen King fan.
Yeah, you can get all the way through it.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah.
I really like it. The other, his best books to movies were the non-horror. A lot of people don't know that The Shawshank Redemption is a Stephen King story.
Yeah.
And so is Stand By Me, one of my favorite movies, was also a Stephen King story.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. They were both in the same collection.
Yeah. I forgot all about that.
And of course, Running Man was in the same collection, and the story was much better than the movie in that case.
And that was most of his work. That was where the book is always better, but certainly in Stephen King's, besides the two that you mentioned first. But when it comes to horror, it doesn't translate very well from his books.
No, although the miniseries of The Stand was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still cranking them out. That Under the Dome is a Stephen King story.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. What do you do on the planes when you're flying from place to place?
Yeah, sometimes it's right now it's working. As we haven't mentioned, I'm also a ghostwriter, and so one of the books is coming out. So I do I call it the red line edit. So that's going on the plane now. But otherwise, it's been a lot of magazines lately, and I don't know why. I just haven't been in the book mood. I need to find a new book passion.
I go through phases like that. I didn't used to fly very often, and I had I don't know, a tradition, a habit, whatever, of I would buy Wired magazine every time I flew.
Yeah.
And read almost cover to cover, but I wouldn't subscribe to it and read it at home.
Yeah. Well, that was mine, yeah. So it's Wired, Fast Company, Esquire, GQ. What else do I subscribe? Oh, then Entrepreneur magazine.
Yeah.
There's one other business one. I'm blanking. Not Forbes, but something like that. So,
Fortune, one of those.
Yeah, Fortune. There we go. And then Time magazine. So, but you get through them kind of. If you travel a lot, then you got to start switching out to a book. So you have to grab one. But I usually don't read fiction on planes. I'm more in the business mindset. So that's what I was saying. To look for a new nonfiction. I went through my library on this trip. I was looking at it. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to buy a book. Didn't see anything up there that got me interested.
I was looking at the nonfiction books at Audible the other day, and to see if I could consume a business book that way, because I struggle to read nonfiction because I love to read so much.
Yeah.
But reading for me has always been escape. So reading a business book, I mean, I've got a few, and I've dug into some of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd see if I could listen to one. What I have found out on Audible, though, is I really enjoy the autobiographies read by the person it's about.
Yeah.
Like Tina Fey's story and Simon Pegg, and I'm kind of making my way through the comedians. I bought Aisha Tyler's so that's that's really good, because my road travels lately have been driving to Houston and Austin once a month.
Yeah. I'm a big Audible. That's when I get all my fiction. So for me, it's the guilty pleasures. So get my espionage fiction when I'm, again, when you're working out and then driving some, because that would be the problem for me, is you get those long drives sometimes, and at least with the story, it scares the crap out of you or something, keeps you engaged. So.
Well, I just read I actually saw the movie on Netflix first, and then got the book. It's Bravo 20, I think is what it's called.
Oh.
I'm actually looking it up. Sean Bean is in the movie. And it's Bravo 20. It was a British commando unit, SAS unit, in the desert of Iraq during the first Gulf War, who gets, they're sent behind enemy lines, but they get all screwed up, and they wind up running hundreds of miles across the desert and then getting captured, and it covers their captivity. And now the guy who wrote the book is a motivational speaker. So
Oh.
and the last part of the Kindle version of the book had all kinds of, he published the most common asked questions during Q&As
Hmm.
in there, and it's Bravo 20. Fun. The movie was good. I wouldn't say fun because watching somebody in a prison camp situation, but
Yeah.
and then the book was really engaging as well. So it dug a little deeper into the story, of course. So that's a
Yeah.
good one. Uh,
Hmm.
we
I don't
post the stuff we talk about on the chat in the thread below, so people can go and click through and check it out. So
Yeah. That's
what?
good.
So what? So you've made a transition into speaking outside the seminar companies and been doing that for a while. What's different now that you've relocated to Austin, and uh, what are you changing?
Yeah, it's
And how
the
you
yeah, I want to build more. When I was in Vegas, it was tough just because the big speakers are there, um, and it's not as much market for, especially on the training side, just because it's casinos, is the big business.
Yeah.
Looking forward to building in Austin more than I have so far. It's the struggle we all go through as speakers is where's our market, where are people hiring, and then it's a long sales cycle for good paying gigs, and so it's a building thing, but that's what I have the confidence in, say like Austin, because not only is it a good sized city, so is the cities all around it within 3 hours. So then I have to compete with such amazing people as Jeff Klein and stuff in the market.
Well, I know one of your audiences is speakers because of because you help people get their books written and published and all that
Yeah,
good stuff. But I was talking to Monica Cornetti, for everybody else, Jonathan's roommate, and you became Facebook official a while back. I got a
yeah,
big kick out of that. That when she did that, I had to tease you a little bit. Um, she talked about this when she spoke at our Austin meeting last month. But tell us about how you guys are assigning the different days, because
yeah.
I want to figure out how to implement that for myself. But so tell everybody about that.
Yeah, that's it, and Monica came up with it, and I just try and follow along. So the idea is to have something for every day, because especially for us as speakers, we tend to put off certain things. So marketing Monday, we have to put out something that's marketing. Tech Tuesday, and then who do you know Wednesday? So that's list building. Finding folks like meeting planners and so on Wednesday. We call Thursday Thirsty Thursday, and that's when you do those uncomfortable sales calls. So, which, I guess after we're done here, I have one I needed to make. So,
Because you
so
reward
that,
yourself with a cocktail, right?
yeah, like I got to do it before I go get my cocktail. I got to make a phone call, and then follow up Friday. And then if we go into the weekend, so strategy Saturday, and then Sunday's fun day. And but
When you first told me about it, I was thinking that, okay, but I can't just only do follow up on Fridays. And then
yeah,
Monica explained it to me a little bit better, where
yeah,
it's making sure you do at least one of those things on that day. So
yeah,
it's not replacing other activities, but it's making sure that you get a marketing message out on Monday, that you,
yeah.
like you say, do something you don't really want to do on Thursday.
Well, or here, like I said, to make it Thirsty Thursday, I was doing training all day and kick those folks out, and then having this discussion. It's too easy to say, well, I'll make that call later. And no,
Yeah.
that call that needs to be made. It's about a month out for a gig that I'm planning in Ohio, and I need these folks on board. So it's otherwise I'll say, well, I'll do it tomorrow, and the next thing you know, it's going through New England next week and having a good time, and I just keep putting it off. So works.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how I can tweak it to where it's follow up 4 o'clock or something like
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah.
the alliteration is beneficial.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But right now I'm still in the thinking about it phase, which is
Yeah.
not where I want.
Thinking about it Thursday.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. No, that would be like thinking about it August.
Yeah.
And time to do it September, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. What So what's next for you? I mean, I know, like, you're talking about this. Is the event in Ohio for you, or is it for a client?
Yeah, I know it's one of mine. I'll be going through there with one of the contract companies sending me through, and so and I have a pretty good network there to reach out to, and so I'll just stay over a couple hours, do evening meetings, and then drive on. So it's nice because, like I said, it's a friend of mine, and he's organizing it. So I guess it's both of ours, but it's me talking, me making the money on it. He being
Yeah.
nicely helping out. So,
What are you going to be teaching folks
that's
on
the
that one?
16 motivators. The 16 motivators is my next product that I'm bringing on, and so this case we haven't. That's what I need to finalize is my speaking to business coaches on how to use the 16 motivators, or am I talking to business owners on how to use the 16 motivators? And so that's what needs to be tweaked.
Yeah, I got because if you're doing it for the coaches, it's like more of a train the trainer kind of thing.
Yeah. So, which is probably where I'd like to go, but there's one business coach out there that wants sort of a territorial exclusive with the 16 motivators. So I don't know. We'll see. It's all those business decisions you have to make. Whether you go, who do you sell to?
Well, and part of it is you're licensing somebody else's content versus creating your own.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
So when you
it's
license, you have to be aware that there's going to be other people licensing it as well. And when you create your own, you have to make sure you create your own so that it doesn't look just like the licensed stuff with a different name.
yeah, yeah. Especially when it comes to exclusives. So yeah, I probably won't go the route of offering the exclusive, but it's an intriguing idea, so you have to look at it. But it's interesting.
So what else? What do you find? How do you get back? How do you switch modes? How do you switch from 5-day, 10-day trip to now it's time to be focused on Jonathan's business?
Yeah, that's a good. Well, I'll let you know when I figure it out. It's yeah, I've been out of balance for a while, and so ideally, it's just go out 1 week a month with the contract training company because you really don't get paid. Well, you can't pay your bills on it. But this company, I'm with SkillPath now, and they've just really wanted me for social media marketing to do their conferences. And so they asked for more days. I gave it to them. And that's the struggle in the speaking business, whether it's a sure thing, so you can pay your bills versus going after something else. Well, it turns out in the non-speaking business, in my writing business, is just taking off, and so that now I'm out of balance again. I just can't find that. I got 7 books right now with different clients at different stages, and I'm starting to lose track. So just brought on a new quick project, just a layout project last night, and I was like, well, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but can't walk away from the money. So,
Or how much of that can you outsource? Probably not a lot of the writing.
yeah, really can't. Ideally, with one of my business partners, that's what we're trying to find, where it should be something that could be outsourced, or at least have someone come on to that we can that'll sell us their services at wholesale, and
Right.
it's finding somebody that we're comfortable with without doing the whole Fiverr thing or something, and then
Yeah,
and
I don't
then
think we can do that in this situation.
yeah, because the product, it's representing me. It's my name on it, so it's I'm being a little bit of a control freak on it. It wouldn't be that big of a deal to find someone else to say, just say, here's how I want it to look, and have them do it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
hoping one of my nephews will step up. But,
well, there's always you risk having to do the work twice if you
yeah,
outsource it to the wrong people.
yeah, and that's been my fear. And like I said, if it were, but even my nephews, then the problem is it's well, they put it off or they never get around to it, and then I end up doing it anyway. So,
Good, yeah.
yeah.
Well, we both have pretty extensive networks, but if you need help finding somebody to do some of that stuff, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. 'Cause it's
So,
just,
what are you? I'm going to let you get to your difficult call here in a few minutes. What are you consuming? I mean, we talked about the magazines and stuff. Is there anything else? Podcasts, music, uh, movies on demand? Anything you've consumed lately that you want to recommend to people?
oh, well, you got to do the whole Netflix, what do you call it? What binges, but what's the word for it?
Yeah, the binge. Isn't it? Yeah, binge is. I can't believe
Something.
neither one of us can think of the right word, but
Yeah, we just went through the killing on Netflix, and just that was the first one, second one, and then now the third season. So once you get into it, you got to follow it all the way through.
yeah. Well, yeah, and I watched the first season, when it first came out, and I haven't. So I saw that the third season was up there, and I was like, "Oh no! If I start watching it,
Yeah.
stop." Do they finally actually solve the first case?
Yeah. And then the
Well,
second, and
that's
then yeah. So it looks like it's ending in the third, because they jump forward a few years. So
yeah, okay. Well, and I'm interested in watching the Scandinavian version. I always forget if it's Norway or Sweden or Denmark, but
yeah, yeah, that's right. We should put that on the list.
that well, that's like I want to watch the British version of House of Cards, but I've
Yeah,
already watched the American version, so I know the big surprises. I already know.
yeah,
Um,
that's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah, I started it one time. It just didn't hold me as well as the American version.
Yeah, well, where the opening of the whole show, I was telling somebody, it's like I'm not going to tell you about the whole show, but let me tell you who this guy is. In the first scene, he mercy kills a dog in the middle of the street, and that's how you meet him.
Yeah, exactly. We forgot how it started.
Yeah, with his bare hands.
Yeah, yeah, that was such a great opening.
I know, I know. Well, I've always been a fan of the Nerdist podcast, Chris Hardwick's podcast interviews, and I listened to the first year or so, and that now they're up to 500 and something. But he
Wow.
had Tom Cruise on in June,
Hmm.
and I just now listened to that, and Cruise doesn't do long form interviews like that usually, but
Yeah.
they met at Comic-Con the year before, and Hardwick got up the nerve to ask if he would be on his podcast, and Cruise said yes, and he makes it a point that if he says he's going to do something, he actually does it.
Wow.
But they both played the same character. I can't remember the name of it, but the character that Tom Cruise played in the rock and roll movie,
Hmm.
Chris Hardwick was the original person who played that when they were workshopping the musical.
Wow.
So they had that character in common, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But the interview was so nice. I mean, I worked with Tom briefly on Born on the 4th of July here in Dallas back in '89, and he was always just really nice to everybody and seemed to be really genuine. I mean, he stayed after when we did big shoots with big crowds. He would stay after for hours signing autographs after rap.
Wow.
And so I've always thought he was a class guy, even though he got a bad rap on some of the talk shows or whatever. And But this interview, he's still that really down-to-earth, nice guy. So I want to just recommend the Nerdist podcast, but also the Tom Cruise episode specifically.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I'm in the middle of listening to the Alicia Witt interview, and she's just hot and fun to listen to. So
Yeah. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
So, and then through the Nerdist, I discovered some other podcasts like WTF with Mark Maron.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's talking about Maron because he did this amazing interview with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Like a year or two ago, recently. And so people are pointing out that to go listen to the WTF podcast with Robin Williams. And I'll post the links for all that. And then, of course, Mike.
That's a good one. Yeah. I just listened to it yesterday. So.
Well, now that you have the link for Mark Maron, he went out to Jonathan Winters' house a couple years ago.
Huh.
Interviewed Jonathan Winters, and that's worth listening to.
Really? Yeah, that's one of those people you thought were dead. I didn't know if John Winters is still with.
Yeah, well, and Nerdist did a great Mel Brooks podcast last year. Yeah. So there's all kinds of, just people you wouldn't really think about, and now Mel Brooks I would think about, but people you wouldn't think about interviewing, they get on these shows, and you get to learn something about them. He did both Ivan Reitman and his son, 2 different interviews. So they talked about Stripes and Ghostbusters and Meatballs and all that other stuff, which is kind of cool. So we're recommending Nerdist and WTF for people, and don't miss out on those. I've gotten really that's almost all I consume in the car now is podcasts.
Right.
And I'm a big Slate fan, so they have Mike Pesca's doing a daily podcast called The Gist, and I got to tell you, Jonathan, I did a radio show for 10 weeks, and I learned I don't want to have to be in the same place at the same time every week for 2 hours, which is why I launched this as a podcast and not a radio show, because somewhere during the week I'm going to meet up with somebody like you and do the podcast, but I don't have to be in the same place at the same time.
Right.
So that's what for you speakers out there. Don't think you have to be bogged down by a radio schedule, but you can still have content going out, whether it's audio or video.
Monica's done well with Blogspot, Blog Talk Radio.
That's right, yeah. And now she moved up from number 2 to number 1 on that gamification chart. I don't know if you saw that. That was just this.
So it was with SlideShare.
There you go. All right. Well, any final words before you get to go do your difficult thing for Thirsty Thursday to justify your cocktail afterwards?
I just say we got to enjoy what we do. We have, it's a great privilege to be able to speak, and in my case, be able to travel. And the way we get to do it is we still have to do the hard work.
There you go. So how do people find you online, Jonathan? What's your website?
JonathanPetersPhD.com.
All right, and I'll post that as well on the comments. Well, enjoy your evening in Little Rock. They probably roll up the streets in about an hour.
Yeah, it's not dark yet, but it's getting
there. All right, my friend, this was fun. I'm so glad we were able to do this, and I look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Yep, definitely.
Take care.
All right, we'll see you.